guess let's kind of get into the bulk of where I'm getting this information. Um, what kind of inspired me to want to do an episode on him, and just kind of go from there. So the whole reason I wanted to do this documentary, or what? I'm not making a documentary. To do this episode was that I'm a big Machine Gun Kelly fan. I love his music. I haven't necessarily listened to him for a ridiculous amount of time, but I would say 3-ish years. But I take his music to heart pretty well. But the whole reason why I was kind of wanting to and saw an opportunity to was because of the Life in Pink documentary / movie that just released 3 days ago on Hulu. And it's basically about his whole transformation into, I guess, who he is now, which is, I guess, kind of like the Prince of Rock. And documents basically the past 2 years with like why he transitioned to a punk rock album, just kind of his motivations, how he got into it, a little bit of his backstory, how he's been dealing with stuff that's been going on in the media, and kind of getting his perspective on everything that's happened to him. And the past couple years have been very, I guess, eventful, I guess is the right word, eventful for him. So one of the reasons why he actually got into the idea of possibly creating a rock album, or even getting kind of introduced into it in the sense of he's interested in that music, was actually thanks to COVID. It was in 2020 when he was out in LA and quarantined that he started to play guitar. I guess he used to, but he hadn't messed with it for a long time. So he started playing guitar a lot, and it kind of reignited his passion for guitar and rock in a way that after working with Travis Baker in the past to make a song with Youngblood, he kind of got that little bit of punk rock taste from Youngblood's song, and it kind of inspired him to want to possibly do something himself. And it put those two together, which Travis Baker, if somebody doesn't know, is the drummer from Blink-182, and he helped work with Machine Gun Kelly to make Tickets to My Downfall and Mainstream Sellout, and he was the main drummer for basically the whole track, like all the tracks for both albums, and he was the one that helped produce it and make it with him. So they started working together to create something. They just started making music together. They weren't necessarily shooting for making an album and everything like that, but it just kind of came in as they went along. At the start of the movie, it actually begins kind of with Machine Gun Kelly talking about his past a little bit, and how he dealt with neglect and everything as a child from his father emotionally. And earlier we talked that his mother left at a young age too, so that had a very large impact on his life in a negative fashion. And it was because of that he kind of sought approval from people through music. So when he released Hotel Diablo, although it was probably one of his best songs, he felt like he didn't get enough recognition from media and larger coverage over the album to actually push it, and he just didn't think that he got attention from it. So that had already kind of put a want to succeed, or at least do better, in his mindset of what ended up making him, or not making him, but inspired him to change stuff up a bit with his music. And you also find out that the whole reason his father was like that was actually something that happened to his dad at a young age, where when his father was young, he actually witnessed his dad die in front of him. and someone had broke into their house at the time and shot his dad with a shotgun, and he bled out at the scene in front of Colson's father. And they actually put Colson's father, on trial when he was only 9 years old. And obviously something like that at such a young age would be so traumatizing. It would be something that you would deal with for the rest of your life. And he did. His dad was an alcoholic, although he was a missionary. That was kind of his coping mechanism, was both religion and alcohol. And it was kind of how he dealt with things. And it probably also has something to do with how much they moved, trying to get away from something and thinking that it would make things easier if they move somewhere else. As Colson and Travis Baker were working through what ended up becoming Tickets to My Downfall, they didn't realize they were actually trying to produce a record. They just happened to be making music, and every time they came with different songs and created new music more and more, and created some amazing songs that they ended up deciding, hey, have you heard from the label? And they hadn't. So they decided, fuck it, let's go in, show them the music, and see what they think. They went through and had them listen to the album. The label didn't know what to think at first. They were kind of surprised, considering this isn't his main genre that he's fallen into over the past 10 years. And they were kind of taken back, but they decided to go for it. And when they did, I think they were all kind of shocked that this album did as well as it did. It was his first album to be a number one and went platinum. And it was an amazingly large album. Nobody was expecting it.